so yeah, we were having a few little technical difficulties, but I think they're all sorted now, and here we are back. We did start with our masks on. Should we put our masks back on? Sunglasses?
Do you reckon?
No,
Nah,
no, okay.
okay.
All right. So here we are. Thank you for joining us. We've got a few people that have dropped in again. Excellent, thank you. So I'll just get everything set up. Okay, I think I'll
Yeah, so yeah, tonight we are a bit like, oh, what we doing? No, but we know what we're doing because we're so professional. And obviously, yeah, as I said in the last video, we're going to share a poem from Cameron, which I translated just recently, yesterday. And then we moved to Ahmad Shamlou, who is as I said, who is the poet from Iran. And he's a contemporary poet, and he's such a troublemaker back in Iran because his poems is about
really?
is so related to the politic, and he's we will talk about that later when we share the poem. And that's it. This is our night. And where is our wine? Let's do
yes, wine.
Let's do the official.
Okay, welcome to the Persian and the poet. Cool. Salamati. So hopefully you've got a drink there at home. Grab yourself a drink if you haven't. Maybe you could sit there and watch us with popcorn if that's what you wanted to do.
That's what Facebook suggestion actually.
Oh really? Okay.
Have your popcorns. Yeah. So before we're starting, I'm going to say hello to Paul.
Oh.
Thank you so much, Paul, for watching
Paul.
us. And Mitra, salam Mitra Jun again. And Ali Reza, my brother, salam Dadashi, and then the few other people, and my lovely, beautiful, famous painter, Chess.
Cool. And I think I saw Marula as well. Marula's been so supportive. Mitra.
Marula, you lovely Marula. I love you. I love you. So thank you so much for supporting and watching us. And there we go.
Yeah. All right. I don't know. Let's just get into it, hey? Oh, finally found you. Yes, I know. We've been on and off, Ches, but here we are. The poem.
Your poem. Yep.
Okay, so this is a poem called In the Mountains. And we actually couldn't quite decide what to do this week, because I've written a lot of poems for you. But some of them were like, I think that's too personal. And, and also sometimes poems
with so many sexual references.
Well, yes, that's one. That's definitely one angle of it. But also, even just there's in jokes as well. Just things that you and I might understand. So there's some things that just won't work to a bigger audience. Some of the poems I write you totally suit a big audience, and some are totally just for you. So
thank you. What?
So this one, all the other poems that we've been doing have been poems that I've written for Ramak, but this is one that's not. But also, we thought it really fits in with the other poem that we selected. Now tell me, it's Ahmad
Shamlou.
So Ahmad Shamlou is the other poet we're doing tonight. And we thought there was a nice thematic link between the two poems that we've ended up doing tonight. So, okay, let's do it. Here's my poem called In the Mountains. Just get myself settled. Okay. Okay, here we go. Swaddled in my own grief, I am protected from the distant mountain whispers of others' agonies. I can feel myself holding the world back. I can feel myself holding the world back with a familiar blanket of trauma wrapped around my cold shoulders. I am beginning to understand that the pain of my experience has leached into my very identity and declared itself to be me. It has cozied itself like a glacier into the landscape of my being, while slowly scouring out deep valleys of its own making. I pull my pain up a little higher and snuggle into my sorrow a little deeper. Who is this me that is not my grief? I can do that last line again. Who is this me that is not my grief?
Beautiful. Amazing.
Oh, I don't know if I read that very well, but
yeah, you can do it in the podcast. Though, but
okay,
I know,
all right,
because,
yeah.
you know, guys, we just before starting
Yeah.
the podcast, like live, it's just stressful because you're just, you know, the people coming and
I know.
and, you know, I had a phone call and then because we use my phone.
We were so relaxed
for
about
the
an
phone.
hour ago.
Yeah.
We were like, hey, it's all cool.
You
We're
know,
totally in
it's
control.
live. Take it easy, mate.
I know. You're so Aussie. But then suddenly, like, it gets to like 5 minutes before, and you're like, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah,
and
the
then-
drama is always happening, but it's all good. And thank you
Yes.
so much for sharing that poem. And after
Yeah.
I share it in Farsi, the translation, we will talk about that because
Okay.
I have a few questions which I'm
Okay.
really fascinated
Sure.
about. to
Okay,
answer.
is that big enough for you to read? Is that okay?
Yeah, I think fine. Ready? There we go. و اندوه همچون قنداقی مرا در خود پیچیده و من مسون در پناه درد نجوای احتضار بلندی های دور را نمی شنوم و من جهان را به عقب راندم با پتوی مأنوس دردهایم بر بازوان یخ زدم آرام آرام در میابم رنج جانکاه این آزمون را و دردینک خیشتن فروشسته مرا خیشی از خود می‌داند و دردینک به سان کوهی از یخ غوطه‌ور در چشمانداز وجود من گویی ذره ذره می‌روبد شکاف‌های عمیقش را و من غنوده در بستر اندوه پتوی سیاه دردم را بالاتر می‌کشم و بالاتر می‌کشم آری از این درد و آری از این انبوه اندوه من کیستم
Wow. And I just want to say thank you for working so hard to translate this poem because I saw you working. I think you must have spent. About at least 3 hours last night, fully focusing, working away. So it's I just wanted to say that because it's such a big effort. Bringing a poem. I mean, this poem took me quite a long time to write as well, but also it takes you a long time to bring it into Farsi as well. So I just want to acknowledge that.
Oh, thank you so much. And that's, as I always saying, it's challenging, but it's such a great practice for me, and I love it. I love this challenge of practicing Cameron's poems, and I haven't had that chance before because I always like poetry and writing poem, but I think I'm not a good a right person to do that. I mean, because I'm not really good enough to create words, put the words together to express my feeling. But I realized that with translating from other people, I can do that.
Yeah.
It gives me that power to express my feelings through the poem of someone else, and that's such a privilege, actually.
Oh, nice.
It's so good.
Oh.
Yeah, so no, that's absolutely fine. But just let me please to talk about the challenge of translating this beautiful poem. But
how was it for you?
Yeah, can you tell us about what is poem about, and can you please give us the history of when did you write it actually?
Well, look, I actually wrote it. I'm not sure when I wrote it. It might have been about 6 months ago. So it's a relatively new poem for me. But I've been working on a memoir which is based in Norway. It's called The Lemon Moon. I went to Norway in 2016, and it was basically my marriage had just ended. We'd just sold our house, and I just wanted to go to the other side of the world and just have a moment to myself before I started a whole new life again. So it was an incredible, powerful trip and very pivotal for me. that I go to the other side of the world. You know, I went right up to the Arctic, and I went in, the dramatic thing about Norway is the mountains, these enormous mountains and the fjords. And so that's, for me, that's the setting of the poem. That's me reflecting on what I was thinking about. And also, so what this poem comes from is that, so like that end of my marriage in 2016 was probably one of the most devastating times for me. Incredibly difficult. I was racked with anxiety and stress and worry and just absolute, just like grief, heartbreak, grief about this relationship that I'd given my whole self to. And but then also, and I couldn't deny that grief. The grief was so powerful. But also, sometimes I was frustrated because I knew that my grief separated me sometimes from other people and from life. That actually grief becomes this little world that you're in. So the key metaphor is like swaddle, which is you're wrapped up. You know, you're wrapped up in your own grief. And I really resented, in some ways, how self-oriented I had to be to survive the grief. It made me feel selfish. But basically, the grief was so big, I had to deal with my grief. But this is me acknowledging also, like, who am I? So it's the key question that it ends with. Who am I that is not grief? And if anything, that was my really big lesson, the thing that I learned from Norway, is that I just felt defined by my grief. But in Norway, having 2 weeks to myself, I suddenly realized there is a me that is totally separate to my grief. There is a me that can actually never even be touched by anyone or what anyone does to me. Like, some people might call this the soul or the true self. But there is actually something that will always be me, that is totally separate from my experiences. So, so for me, that's what this poem captures. But it's me in that moment of pain, sort of peeking above the blanket of my pain and going, there's a world out there, and also there's people in great pain out there, but I can't quite deal with it yet. You know? But yet, who am I when I can? You know, that's the big question. Yeah, so was that, like, when you read the poem, did that come forward for you or not? How was it for you?
Absolutely. Maybe because I went through, I don't know if you guys know that, like, my marriage ended up kind of like maybe 9-10 months ago. And so I went through that journey and I know what's happening. So I feel so connected to this poem in somehow, because you know I went through the same experience, fortunately or unfortunately, but it's so painful, and exactly you have that pain inside you and you're just thinking about that pain, and yourself you carry you is just it's with you all the time, and you know you don't think about other people agony or pain or suffer because you are absolutely in pain. And it's amazing for me when it comes to the pain and as a universal human being experience. It's just about like separation, you know. Pain is universal experience and we all have this experience. So it's so fascinating how we can get connected to this poem. I believe even those people, they didn't went through this experience as like exactly like separation or divorce. But it's still, you know, the pain is universal. The pain is inside us. We're suffering in this world, but we're still alive. We're still enjoying the life, and we're still experiencing, because the pain is part of life. We cannot separate pain from living. We are living to suffer. And I think this poem really picture it really perfectly for me. As I said, I absolutely you really get connected to this poem. And I think why that was hard to translate it, because you know when you feel that really deep pain and darkness and emotion, when you're gonna just put it in another word, in another language, the struggle is just like, am I like doing the right thing to express this person emotion? And that was challenging, and that was confusing, and but I think because I had the same experience, maybe I was successful in translation. But again, please, please, please let me know about the translation. The Persian Farsi speakers people, and we really appreciate it. Yes.
And can I just comment? So, and I've mentioned this before, that when I get the translation that Ramak has done, I then put it into Google Translate, and of course it gives a really basic version, but I can sort of see what you've done. And the bit that I really liked was just the very last line. So my last line of my poem is, "Who is this me that is not my grief?" But I like what you did with it. You basically said, well, the
Google said,
Google said, "Free from my pain and free from this mass of sorrow, who am I?" And I actually think that's really beautiful. I like. Does that represent what you said in Farsi?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I think absolutely.
And that's beautiful.
Google, you did a good job.
Oh wow!
Credit to you. So yeah, you did it like in such a basic way, but you passed
I love what you've done with that last line. So
that's good. I'm glad to hear that. So this is Cameron's poem, and as I always telling him, because I think because in Australia, unfortunately, poems and it's not something to appreciate. It's not, unfortunately, necessarily in the culture. And I always telling Cameron he could be really not famous, like get a better representation of his work, and because the word he's making with his poetry, at least for me, is just amazing. The story he's telling, the metaphors he's using, and it's just so unique and different and so like deeply emotional, which is I think for me is such a big part to write a poem. You have to feel that emotion, and if you could pass it to the just how can I say that?
Oh, I don't know. Like, are you saying like
share it? Oh,
share.
Easy. Yeah, share it to others, and just it's such a big thing, and I think he's doing it.
But I know you're biased, okay? But I will take all of that,
You should take, and
still
he's my boyfriend.
Yeah, that's right. So all right. Well, thanks for talking about it and my poem.
Thanks for your
explanation. I know, and probably any artist would feel this. It's always such a pleasure when, I know for me particularly, when people engage with your artwork, with your creativity, it's so satisfying. I know that part of me is just like, hey, that just makes me so happy when people go, what does that mean? And they genuinely feel it, and you do that so beautifully for me. So I love that.
Because we create to people see us, see the result of our thoughts and what we're thinking about, how we see the world through our the lens of the camera, or through our poems, through the painting. So okay. I've been a chatterbox.
No, I've been chatty too. So
sorry guys.
Wait a sec, I've got to sneeze. I'll sneeze over here.
Ooh, bless you. So, okay, before we go into the next poem, can I just say hello to the few beautiful people there? Helen, I love you. I'm thinking of you, and thanks for coming. Alex again, and thank you for
also,
coming.
I need to do a call out to Jono. So I saw Jono saying hello. So hi, Jono.
Hi, Jono.
Hey.
And thank you so much for your comment, Mitra. I cannot see it properly, but well done, Ramak.
Oh yeah, she basically said you did justice to the poem.
That's great. Yeah, thank you so much. مرسی واقعا مرسی که میذاری کامنت، و اونایی که فارسی صحبت میکنن، یعنی فارسی زبانان، لطفا کامنت بذارن که من متوجه بشم چقدر دارم کارمو درست انجام میدم. Okay, back to English.
Okay, lovely. So we were looking at a few different poets. I did my own research over the week, just going, what are some of these Iranian poets? And it's hard for me to research, trying to find the good poems. But I did stumble upon the name of Ahmad Shamlou. But you sent me through a page where there was one poem that was just like, bam, that is it. I want to do that poem. So what's it called in Farsi?
در آستانه.
Darastane.
در آستانه.
And in English it's
is-
called In This Dead End Road. And I really loved it. It was incredibly powerful. But can you tell me, what do you know? I mean, yeah, again, we're not scholars or anything like that. We're here just lovers of poetry. So what do you know about Ahmed Shamlou?
As an Iranian, like other Iranians, we know Shamlou. Shamlou is such a strong contemporary poet back in Iran, and he really influenced on the poetry, modern poetry, I can say, back in Iran. And because he was a kind of, as I said, a troublemaker person, because he was playing with the politics and the politics issues, and specifically in freedom and human being issues and those stuff. So it was like such a really intense subjects to talk about that in Iran. As a country, you don't have really freedom, and especially with poetry and with writing. So it's you know, you have to be really careful with what are you doing. But you know, as an artist, you have to be in the same time free and just express yourself. And Shamlou, in this beautiful poem, which is one of the really iconic poems from him, and you know, we know him, and we unfortunately in these past couple of years back in Iran, we experienced the really darkness.
Right.
And so this is the poem, I think people in Iran and even us in other side of the world, we still like, you know, whispering and, you know, we just sharing to ourselves this poem, so iconic and beautiful, and I hope you really enjoy it.
And in my just brief readings of Shamlou, you know, he was jailed by the Shah. So he was speaking out and he got jailed. You know, so he genuinely suffered for his poetry. You know, he said, you know, these are things I need to say, and they were dangerous things to say. And reading this poem, like, it is, like, it's a kicker. Like, I mean, it's really saying it hard. But I just thought it was so powerful. And so start us off with the Farsi version.
Yep. دهانت را میبویند مبادا گفته باشی دوستت دارم، دلت را میپویند مبادا شعله‌ای در آن نهان باشد. روزگار غریبی است نازنین و عشق را کنار تیرک راهوند تازیانه میزنند. عشق را در پستوی خانه نهان باید کرد، شوق را در پستوی خانه نهان باید کرد. روزگار غریبی است نازنین و در این بنبست کج و پیچ سرما، آتش را به سوخت بار سرود و شعر فروزان می‌دارند. به اندیشیدن خطر مکن، روزگار غریبی است نازنین. آن که بر در می‌کوبد شباهنگام، به کشتن چراغ آمده است. نور را در پستوی خانه نهان باید کرد. دهانت را میبویند مبادا گفته باشی دوستت دارم، دلت را میپویند مبادا شعله‌ای در آن نهان باشد. روزگار غریبی است نازنین، روزگار غریبی است. نور را در پستوی خانه نهان باید کرد، عشق را در پستوی خانه نهان باید کرد. آنک قصابانند بر گذرگاهان مستقر، با کنده و ساتوری خونالود، و تبسم را بر لبها جراحی می کنند و ترانه را بر دهان. کباب قناری بر آتش سوسن و یاس، شوق را در پستوی خانه نهان باید کرد. ابلیس پیروز مست سور عزای ما را بر سفره نشسته است. خدای را در خانه نهان باید کرد. خدای را در پستوی خانه نهان باید کرد. I get goosebumps.
in this dead-end road. They sniff your breath unless you said, I love you. They sniff your heart. Such strange times, my sweet. And they flog love at every checkpoint. We must hide love in the back room. In the cold of this dead-end, crooked road, they stoke their pyres with our poems and songs. Don't risk thinking, for these are strange times, my sweet. The man who beats at the door in the nadir of night has come to kill the lamp. We must hide light in the back room. Those are butchers in the passageways, with their chopping blocks, and bloodied cleavers. Such strange times, my sweet. They carve smiles off faces and sever songs from our mouths. We must hide pleasure in the back room. Canaries are barbecued on flames of lilies and jasmines. Such strange times, my sweet. And the devil, drunk on victory, feasts at the table set for our wake. We must hide God in the back room. So
Yeah.
I'll just say can you say her name translated by Shola Wolpe?
Shole Wolpe, maybe that's not
Not Iranian perhaps.
but Shole Wolpe if
Shole Wolpe.
Wolpe, sorry Shole if I translated if I pronounce it wrongly, but that's the thing I can get. But this poem just,
It's such a kicker. I mean,
I got goosebumps to Petra because for me, as an Iranian, it's so related to what's happening in Iran at the moment, and
really,
even I'm here in Australia, living here, but is such an important part of me is still there. Even I do not actually like to back to that country, honestly. I don't miss that country in the way of I missed Iran. I missed the street. I didn't miss it, but it's a part of me inside me. It's just strongly related to that country because I spent 30 years on my life over there. So, and this poem is a story of, which is this is not a really new poem, but it's absolutely.
Unfortunately, it sounds like it's still relatable.
Telling the story of what's happening.
It's still part of the Iranian story.
They sniff our brains. So this is absolutely right. So what do you think about that? A part of because for me has got the political, the conflicts.
Because he was writing this to the Shah's regime, would it be, or would it have been? Which regime would he be talking about?
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I think this one is after Shah.
Okay, right.
So,
and I just for me, it's incredibly strong. All the images are so beautiful and so rich, but also that refrain of we must hide love in the back room. We must hide the light in the back room. Pleasure and God all must be hidden in the back room. You can just see how everything has to go underground. Everything has to be hidden. These I don't know, true expressions of what it means to be human, to love and to have pleasure and delight, which is just hope as far as I see. Everything has to be suppressed, hidden away. So, I mean, for me, it's as being in good old free Australia where you can do whatever you want. It's in some ways so unrelatable, only in very small ways in these COVID times can I relate to that a little bit. But like, no, but only, you know, like I don't want to compare Australia during COVID to, you know, like Iran and what's been happening in Iran. But
no, but I can't understand.
yeah, but even just such strange times, my sweet. That's the other refrain that's used in there. And for me, it just, it reeks of truth, authenticity.
Yeah.
And he's found incredibly strong words to capture what needs to be said, you know. So for me, that's an example of just a perfect poem, you know. Beautiful poem, so powerful. So that's what I loved about it. I mean, and so this is a really contemporary poem. And
Yeah.
do you enjoy it in Farsi? Like, how does it work for you in Farsi?
Absolutely. This is, as I said, this is a poem. A specific poem is a poem from Ahmad Shamlou, like Iranian says. It's so familiar. It's a familiar thing for Iranian. But
Yeah.
I apologize if I didn't read it properly because I was getting really emotional, and that's my weak point because.
No, it's not a weak point. It's a beautiful
Yeah,
point.
but because when I get emotional, I'm just like mess it up. So it's so touchy. It's absolutely a touchy poem, and you realize that it's related. And I think this is a beauty of the right and true art. When you are a true artist, whatever you do is acceptable and understandable in any. In any century, in any year, in any time, because you
it's
say that
universal.
it's a universal thing, and it doesn't matter you're living like I don't know 100 years ago or now in 2020, and is just or even you live in Australia, in Switzerland, or in Iran. It's just you have to tell the truth, and that truth can get connected to the people's heart, and they feel it. And that's I absolutely believe about art and the true artist and the job they actually as an artist we need to do.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think for me, it's always, I mean, it's not an easy thing to do, but like to give words to fleeting feelings or to moments that people have never quite captured in words. I mean, I think that's what a good writer does. A good poet could be a good novelist as well. So capturing those feelings or things that you sort of but you've just never found the perfect words for it.
That was why I was really amazed with your poem and that the poem we shared tonight.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because that was really really touching, and you could feel connection. And
Wow.
that's it. I think maybe we are going to share more poems from Ahmad Shamlou because
Well,
he's
I love
such an
that.
iconic
Yeah.
person in the contemporary Iranian poetry, and we have more beautiful things to share. And can I say about the similarity between you and Ahmad Shamlou?
Oh, well, if you think it's there, what do you think?
That similarity I mentioned last night.
Yeah, so what's the similarity?
Oh, the similarity, actually, I found that like Cameron Semmens is so similar to Ahmad Shamlou because Ahmad Shamlou got married basically 2 times, and for the last
that similarity.
Is that okay?
Well, yeah, whatever, yeah.
So he got married 2 times, and then in the last like love story of his life, he was with this lady, his lover, third wife, and then they got married, and Ida is such a he wrote so many poems about her and for her, and because he was totally a lover. And recently I think a series of his writing in because he used to write a letter to Ida, and recently they get published back in Iran, and because excuse me, because Ida is still alive, and so in that way I feel so like, oh, you're so similar. So
Wow.
yeah.
Well, I hope I can be similar. Gee, that sounds good to me. Yeah.
And you had you get married 2 times, and then you writing poem for me, and so it's just like, it just was funny last night when I was thinking about that, and Cameron as a poet and Ahmad Shamlou, I was like, I should tell him that, but yeah, I think we should share more poems of him. And
Yeah, well, I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, and please tell us what we're doing, because I feel like
Tell us what we're doing.
yeah, what we do.
No, tell us what you think of
no,
what we're doing.
Yeah, what
like,
do you think we're doing?
No.
No,
Tell us what you think of what we're doing.
oh,
yeah.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's right. So, yeah, because, yeah, that's right. We'd love feedback, you know, so...
Yeah, and you know, sometimes we both like so like down and like, oh, is no one gonna come? Because we're doing, but it's good to just know what we're doing. Like, what do you think about us, and what do you like about us? And you know, it's at least for me, it's such a big and good thing, and I can't just like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it again.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Well, I like your earrings. Was that a start? That's nice.
They're so heavy, so I cannot.
really?
It's so funny. It's perfect because on Friday nights we have live and I can dress up.
Yeah, this is the other reason why we're doing this. It's an excuse to dress up. We've been so locked in for all these weeks, so this is our excuse to dress up and like,
Put the makeup on, so I'm zombie during the day, and I became a Cinderella at night on Fridays, just on Fridays.
Cinderella. Nice. No.
So yeah, thank you so much for coming, everybody, and yeah, I love you all, and I really appreciate your time. Thanks for listening and watching us, and please subscribe to our podcast, which is everywhere.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So let's sign off. So